Andre, good evening. How are you doing, brother?
Good, and you?
Awesome, man. I'm very good. Thank you. So, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day today to discuss your experience of going through the ARC system. You started back in February. So, at the time of this recording, it's about you're 7 months into the program. You're going to give us a little bit of an update. So, could you share, first and foremost, what were you kind of going through in your marriage before you enrolled in the ARC system?
Yeah, sure thing. So I think it was maybe about 5 months beforehand where my wife basically moved out, kind of blindsided me. Cops at the front door with a temporary restraining order. Didn't get to see my kids for 2 weeks. Um, then I got like within 2 days divorce papers at the doorstep. Right before I was supposed to leave on a business trip. And so I decided in the moment to go on the business trip just to kind of process what just had happened,
Sure.
which is probably a good thing because I couldn't see my kids for a couple of weeks. And then when I got back, the restraining order was dropped and I could see my kids again. And I spent probably those first 5 months. We were breaking the temporary restraining order with my wife because she was coming over for dinner, and it was just a lot of I don't know, roller coaster ride. And I basically was a show pony, as he described it, trying to do everything from buying gifts and being this perfect guy, cleaning up and promising, begging, you name it. I probably try to do it, and I think it
Mm,
crosses manipulation in hindsight now, the more I understand. It just was things that, you think would work, but don't work. And not at all was pushing
sure.
her further away.
Yeah. So what kind of things had you tried? So you mentioned being a show pony. What kind of things had you tried in those 5 months before you enrolled in the ARC system?
Cooking more dinners, inviting her over, buying her flowers, saying the right words. It wasn't lip service, but I'm sure,
Mm,
to her it probably came across as lip service, trying to be this perfect dad, or and I think it was just so fresh because I wasn't really doing it before. I was pretty heavily involved in opening a new business, so therefore, it wasn't authentic yet to her. On the flip side, now it's been about a year, and I've been holding steady in a lot of in some of those things, and now it's not just lip service. It's part of life. So
awesome, man. Okay. Then were there any hesitations or concerns that you had then? Because you were already going through this kind of roller coaster before. So 5 months before you then decided to enroll in the ARC system. Were there any concerns about making that decision? If you can remember our application call together, what kind of things were going through your
um
head?
well, so like prior to me seeing, I think one of your videos or posts online, the mastery program maybe, I think we had gone to marital counseling, but it wasn't really marital counseling because my wife wasn't there to reconcile. It was
Hmm.
just more to maybe try to co-parent or basically say she's not reconciling. And so it lasted a few weeks, and because of what we were just, I wasn't going to get divorced and she was, and so I tried talking with friends and our pastor at church, and trying to get other people to talk to her. I mean, and I think I was going to that council a little bit myself, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't making progress. It wasn't making change for me. It just, it was like on deaf ears kind of deal. So I think in my mind, for me not to spiral, I knew I needed like kind of a support group, and be around other guys going through the same thing. And so when I came across your post, I think it made all the sense in the world to me to have a support system so I could understand what other guys are going through, because I was alone, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's why I wanted to do it. Obviously, there's a upfront cost, and I mean, it might be a lot for people to chew on, but when you really break it down and think about it, if that was my hesitation, because I am a businessman, I am about money in some
Yeah,
way.
I still remember that conversation. Yeah.
But the reality of the matter is, investing in yourself, and the potential to save your marriage can save you a lot more than an investment in yourself that's actually going to benefit you for the rest of your life anyways. and,
Mm,
and so in hindsight, when I look at what we've spent on lawyers in the past year, just kicking the can down the road, I mean, it's almost the same cost of what I put in the system.
mm.
So it's like, and we haven't even gone through divorce or gone to court or done anything. It's just pushing paper.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, the cost it may seem like a lot, but it's not in the grand scheme of it. It's a worthwhile investment.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, And what made you then, after like going through different counselors and having different experiences, what made you choose then to go through the ARC system rather than going with another counselor or going with another program?
Um, because I don't think counseling was really getting anywhere unless we're going to go to marital counseling, right? Because I mean, I didn't know what I was looking for myself. I didn't know what I needed to do. I think I was in that point where it's like, okay, she's wrong. This is what she's doing. She's acting crazy, and that was what was like kind of consuming me, trying to figure out what was wrong with her,
Sure.
in all honesty. Um, versus looking at working on myself. I mean, I knew I needed to work on myself because I did have anger issues, frustration per se, I guess. And there's only so far talking to friends or people at church, other brothers, like I said, they're not experiencing the same thing. It's like, oh, we'll pray for you, or and that's great. I mean, it was helpful, but it's not the same as having other guys going through the same thing. And obviously there's a lot of programs that automatically come into your feed on Facebook. I don't even remember all of them. I still get them, but it's just an advertisement, right? And I mean, you can look at the comments, and I'm sure some of them may be great. I don't really know, but it was something about the way you presented yourself. It was a free content, and then what you said hit all the marks of exactly what I was doing. That was the wrong thing, and I was like, okay. But then it was more personal because you gave me that 1 hour one-on-one call, and because of the personal conversation is like, you know what, I feel like this is the right guy, and it's where I felt led to go.
Okay. I got you. All right. Wonderful. And just to touch on you're the ice guy. So you're talking about the frustration is definitely that, all your ice guys are tenacious and it's extremely resourceful, but that can also, it's a double-edged sword that you can get frustrated. So that was something that we covered fairly quickly to release those emotions to help you move forward. Okay. So how's your experience been then for these 7 months of going through the program?
Like I said, everything I think in life comes in hindsight. Unfortunately, I do own a business. I own a couple businesses. My wife left me like 3 months after opening a second retail store that's very busy, on top of me really trying to be part of my kids' lives. And so I just had a lot of stuff, or have a lot of stuff on my plate, and I didn't quite know how to manage all that, because it's like overwhelming, obviously. So then there was the emotions of what was going through, and so in hindsight, I wish I had a 9 to 5 job where I could clock in, clock out, and then dedicate the time as much as
Yeah.
like I said, to do everything as some of the other guys are blowing through the checkpoints right now, right? And it's like I don't feel like I had that opportunity. I was already functioning on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, maybe 6 some nights on the weekend, but I try to take it as seriously as possible. I definitely showed up to all the group calls, every single one of them, at 1:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning, so to me that was a major investment because it threw off my time clock for the whole week. Like
Yeah.
today, well, last night we had a call, I had 3 hours of sleep. I had to be up at 6 a.m. to take the kids to school, and here we are again the next night. I got to be up at 4 in the morning because I have to go down to the store to install some cameras. But um but no, I think the progress of the group and the checkpoints, the first thing was mastering my emotions, understanding, okay, there's a 4-stage process or 4 pillars of reconciliation or phases. And
Yeah.
that helped me understand, okay, I definitely was sitting there in cold conflict. I mean, everything was negative back at me, no matter what I tried. And I had to learn how to master those emotions I was feeling and not lash back out or play the blame shame game. And tapping really helped out, releasing some of those emotions. um Doing some breathing exercises helped, and I think there was just a point where, because it was happening so often over time, I realized me reacting negatively wasn't doing me any good anyways. And once that really clicked, which took a few months because I'm a driven guy, and for sure. But the reality is, the techniques you teach in the program, had I have embraced them a little sooner, maybe it wouldn't have gone as long. I don't know, but they surely, when it finally clicked for me, it obviously started to change things, because it still took, obviously that my wife still didn't believe it, at least she said she didn't. But now when you got like pastors saying, no, he's changed, when you got the counselor she was seeing for years before I even decided to see him and stand and fire with this guy. He says, no, Andre's changed. So it's like, if the, yeah, I mean, people all around her are saying, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's like, I didn't have to say that. There's a point where it's like he's changed. You can't deny it. And so even so, when we went to the counselor that was her counselor before that I've been seeing for the past several months, last week, he point blank asked her, and she had to admit, yeah, he's changed.
Woohoo! Nice,
So
man. It's a nice moment when they finally admit. But what was
it
like
took
the
1 year to the day, but
1 year? Yeah, that from the getting the papers. And if you think about going through the program, what is that? What was the moment where you realized that something had really shifted, like that she noticed your change? Can you remember when that was? How long did that take? Where you're like, okay, things are now starting to go right for me. Things are going in the right direction. She's noticing the change.
you know, like I said, it might have been only like a week or two ago, right? Where that shell kind of cracked. I mean, it was present before, but it was a real roller coaster because my wife is going through a lot of things, as
Mm-hmm.
well. I've had to learn some serious empathy and trying to, like, I guess, almost study her and understand her, because she has some childhood trauma and
Mm-hmm.
narcolepsy and ADHD and depression, anxiety. So she's going through a lot, and plus her dad is like
Yeah.
road with dementia, Lewy body dementia, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think because she's such an emotional roller coaster, like there might be positives. Like, I mean, it was several months ago we went and stayed at a Disney resort here in Hawaii, and it seemed like there was some positives. And then the next day there's a negative, and hold
Yeah.
hands, and like then we went
Back and
camping
forth.
months ago, and then it was like, I mean, it was such a huge swing.
Mm.
It's almost like a tripwire, but I don't even think it was a normal tripwire that some of the other guys might experience. For me, I had to really just, okay, breathe deep and not let it affect me, because I don't think those would have been as big of swings with
Yeah.
the women that aren't going through similar things. Maybe, I mean, I'm just assuming. I could be
No,
wrong.
I agree with you on this one, Andre. It was very intense for you. So what helped you with these big swings from like holding hands and going on dates and then the next day saying, no, I want to push for the divorce. What helped you stay centered and detached so that you could keep moving forward?
Ultimately, because like I said, from the first counselor, he's like, study your wife, and so I took that to heart long before I even came in the program. So having this understanding that she did have these conditions, and it helped me learn some empathy and understanding. I was like, okay, and with that knowledge on top of everything I learned from this program, um, I knew I had to kind of dig deep, and like sort of like a tree that roots real deep. When that
Yes.
hurricane comes, just ride it out, and know that it's gonna swing back. I just got to hold my frame. I think that's what you teach, is like, just holding your frame, knowing the truth, trying to be a great dad, and it's sad because I think my wife was really having struggles being a mom to the children, and almost hurting them in a lot of things she was doing, and it's hard not to point blank point it out to her, right? And in the beginning I was, but then I was such a stable dad for the kids, and to the point where my daughter wanted to come live with me in the past several months. And my wife thought I was manipulating or controlling her, and I wasn't. It was
Yeah.
her. I was trying to tell her, and then she would want to put it, no, it's you. And I knew, and even when she's saying that, I knew it wasn't me. I'm just being a great dad, and you're mad at me because of it. And you have to look at yourself.
Sure.
And I think it wasn't until a couple weeks ago it just clicked on her. I think, where she realized, because my daughter lashed out at her and told her how she felt, and my son's doing the same, and he's 5 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think she's starting to realize there's things going on. And I think, like I said, the past few weeks have been a major swing. And I'm confident this time it's going to stick, because obviously she's wanting to go to counseling. She's not, there's hope,
Yeah.
right? And
Awesome.
it is a major swing from a year ago, because as much as I want to believe and hope and all that, it's hard to when you don't got some breadcrumbs sometimes.
I hear you. I hear you, man. And so you've been done absolutely amazing. You've certainly been a super dad for your kids, showing up for Isaac and Elizabeth like that, and sticking to the process, going through these swings. So you've been done absolutely amazing, man. So, off the top of your head, what are the kind of three main benefits that you got from going through the ARC system?
Yeah, sure. Well, number one would be stabilizing my emotions, right? I had a lot of anger, probably because I had my own health issues, and my wife was the closest person, and if she was doing things that I didn't recognize or realize and that were pissing me off or whatever, right? And I'd get pretty angry about things. And I think learning how to recognize that, learning the tapping technique, or even just walking away and just calling time out. Like I couldn't do that before. Now I can very easily. I can
Mm,
recognize it. I'm very calm and centered. So that's probably a big personal thing, and I know that's only going to help with my relationship with my wife, right? Um, like I said, one of the reasons I got in the program was having a support system of other guys going through the same thing. Um, Everybody's on a different roller coaster, some harder than I think what I'm going through in different ways that maybe I would process it very differently, you
mm,
know. Um, and fortunately, I don't think my wife ever cheated on me or anything like that, so I didn't experience those things.
sure.
And I think I don't want to say like other people what they go through, seeing that if it's worse than your situation or whatever makes your situation feel less than light, maybe. But that's not what I want to say. But it allows you to grieve with others and almost have empathy of what others are going through, and also help you process what you're going through. So I think having a support system that has grown obviously the past several months, and I think when you lean into that and you make other brothers and friends, some people may be lifelong friends, and you can learn from other guys' mistakes. And then again, maybe they learn from your mistakes, and but then you
Definitely.
can also capitalize on what they win and work for them, and realize, okay, well, that is working for them. I need to do the same. And and like I said, that whole fellowship of that is why I knew I wanted to join this system to begin with. I knew I needed that. I understand
Wonderful.
concept and structure, and I think one of the last things that was really good is the conscious creation part,
Mm,
because I'm so stressed out. I bang out of bed, as like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And taking some days to really, pause in the morning. It's like, oh, okay, I bust my hump for all this. I'm going through all this, and it's easy to think negative, but it's like when you sit in, it's like, no, what do I want to do? I need to enjoy life. I need to do something right. So I consciously knew that it was like a 100-year anniversary for Disney World several months ago. And I was like, you know what? I really want to take my kids to Disney World, not Disneyland. And I want to go for a long time because we haven't had a vacation in years. And so I threw it out there with my wife, and she's like, hell no, she's not going. You know what I mean? And she like said she's going to Disneyland a couple months afterwards. And and I didn't buy the tickets right away. I think I asked, for advice on that, and in my mind, it's like, how could she not go? It's like that would be, it's like,
yeah.
but I kind of waited until like just a couple months ago when I saw signs where she was willing to give in, whether it was for 1 week, what she said, or whatever. Then I just bought the tickets for her, but now she's excited to go.
Sure.
It's
Wonderful.
coming out, and so I mean, consciously, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, it ain't a cheap trip or anything, but like I knew I needed, I guess that's my Hail Mary. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it was for me, it was for my kids. And I think if we didn't have this problem, I probably would have planned something like this anyways at this point in our
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
But it's always been on my mind to take my family to Disney World at this around this age. So
Yeah.
it was just
Okay.
time to execute on it, right?
That's wonderful, wonderful. I just want to say that anybody who's watching this video with Andre, don't do that. So he's been going through the program 7 months. A lot of guys think, okay, do this big Hail Mary and a gift at the beginning. No, he's been going through the program. He's gone through the four pillars, and this is something that we discussed. So it's cool for you. But again, that's the great thing about the program. It is so it's unique. It's custom to your situation. So all right, so let me just then rehash that. So the three main benefits were the emotional side, getting yourself grounded, being able to deal with it. Then the brotherhood, having that community of guys cheering you on to see that you're not alone, and to have the wisdom to from everybody, the shared wisdom in the group, so you don't have to make the mistakes all yourself, and we're learning from each other. And the final one was then the conscious creation. That was kind of like a mind shift, more than just a mind shift, but also your energy is in, you want to create something good. You want to create that future that you want, rather than getting stuck in kind of the day-to-day, what you've been going through, the difficult times that you've been going through. Wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it helps
Okay.
you hold your frame when you think like that as well.
Big time, big time. Okay. So I always like this to ask this question because I have no idea what the answer is going to be on this one. Is what's the one thing you've learned going through the ARC system that you didn't learn from the system itself, like explicitly, but you learned just from being in the group with the guys, going through the group sessions, going through the trainings?
Okay. Hmm. I I don't want to throw someone under the bus or anything.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to because it just stood out, and it was like, you know, I think like a lot of us want to rush, like if there's a sign of hope to reconcile, right? Or you know, have
Yeah.
intimacy with your wife, right? And and I think there's a new guy in the group, Dave, like he you know, didn't go that route, and you know, and that's probably going to better his relationship as he goes and
In the
reconcile.
long term, yep.
And you know, then we have another guy that gave in when she was coming back probably at the wrong time, right? And now he's back in that cold conflict, and maybe you know where he was in the beginning. And
Sure.
so, you know, I don't think you explicitly talked like that, or, you know, I mean, not that I remember, but like watching these examples, is like, wow, okay, yeah, I could see how quickly something can explode, you know, and go in the wrong direction if you don't stick with the program and
Yeah.
the things you set, and let, you know, think with the wrong head maybe, or whatever you want to call it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, there's got to be real intentionality in every step and why you're doing it, and I think it's unfortunate, you know, having to watch that lesson from, you know, somebody else that went through it, but
Mm.
it stuck out to me. Like, I don't know why. I think that's one of the,
Yeah.
you
Okay. So
know,
your learning was don't be intimate. So don't have sex with your wife until she's agreed, and you both have agreed that you're going to move forward with the marriage, rather than this kind
right,
of getting caught up. And there's, you know, because as you guys work on yourselves, you become much more attractive, and there is that sexual tension building, and it's obviously easy for men at the end of the day to fall into the trap. And
right,
yeah, what happens afterwards then? Usually, what happens then is a woman will, if she hasn't fully checked back into the marriage, she'll pull away and she'll be thinking, "Oh my God, what did I do?" And then you take a couple of steps back. Okay, so that's good that you got that
because there's a
from.
power dynamic, right? I mean,
Yes, yes, exactly.
that's what I've realized. Because I think now it's like in my relationship with my wife, I mean, there was a big struggle back and forth, and whether it was mental or whatever it was, I think now it's starting to balance out where we don't lash out as much, and when she does, I don't react. I just leave it to
Mhm.
her. Okay, well, you know, so, and I think that's starting to calm her down where she does it less and less and less. So yeah, I think there needs to be a balance for sure. You know, I think I
Yeah,
was the HNIC before, you know,
yeah.
if you get from the Lean on Me movie. But yeah, so
Okay, awesome, man. Good answer. And then so why don't you share then with everybody what's changed in your life? So these last 7 months, what's changed in your life? So you said at the beginning that so she filed for the papers, you got a restraining order, and she was pushing, even when you came into the program, I remember she was pushing for divorce hard. You had a lawyer breathing down your neck, putting pressure on you to push it through. So what's changed in your life, man? And let's celebrate that since going through the program. Where are you at now since applying the ARC system?
well, I mean, as of today, you know, we're going on a 3-week vacation to Disney World together, and it's not like she can run or go anywhere. I mean, it's only, you know, as like the counselor said, it's almost like a final exam. You know, I'm gonna have 3 weeks to really make my or have the ability to be this empowered man, super dad, you know, for my kids, but also loving, empathetic to my wife, and show her that there is permanent change, even in a situation 3 weeks together like that. Um, and basically have her feel safe again in the relationship, right, emotionally. And so, you know, it's one thing she stays here a few nights here and there, but I think that's going to give me a. I'm hoping that's going to kick it across the finish line, right? But the lawyers, they're on standby. I mean, that's I think that's
Still on your
my
mind?
week's going on, but nothing's like getting rammed necessarily forward yet.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's going to be dropped, because even my lawyer's like, yeah, you're just wasting money. I was like, well, I know. You
Mm,
know, it's like, why are you pushing papers back and forth where we're not trying to move anywhere? So
yeah.
I'm gonna assume my wife's gonna drop it, and I think the fact that we're in this counseling now with a guy that she saw that she feels comfortable with. You know, he's
Yeah.
a guy from our church, and he's very well seasoned. You know, one of it, he has a framework too. He calls it HER, her, which is humility, empathy, and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's his thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, one of the things for me is I had to humble myself because, you know, I did have a lot of anger, and I'll call it almost, it was almost abusive in the way my wife would take it, given the type of person she is, where it might be, you know, heavy spatting between other couples, right?
Sure.
And so then I had to humble myself and realize, okay, yeah, okay, I can't be like that anymore. I had to have empathy for everything she's gone through and take responsibility for what I've done. And so, and that goes with any kind of argument or any kind of situation. I think a lot of things like that. She's just at the table where she's not pushing for divorce. Whereas a year ago, we would go through that counseling. It was like dead set. I'm done. I'm done. There's no chance. Zero. Done. 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 Let's co-parent. I'm gonna. She even was at the point where she says, "Okay, you know, in a couple months, I'm gonna start. You know, with the new year, I'm gonna start dating other people, and you know, all kinds of things like that. Right before I joined the ARC system, right?
Mm.
And so, you know, to where we're at now, where she's upstairs sleeping with my kids and been here the past 3 nights, and you know, going on this vacation. It's a major difference to where things are stabilized, and as long as I don't become some kind of lunatic, which
Yeah. And
I'm
yeah,
not, you know, I'm a different person now, but
and that's
you know, I'm a
important.
super
That's really important. You've changed, man. It can happen. And regarding to
right,
what the counselor said about this 3 weeks going on vacation, no, don't see this as a final test. You want to see this as you're going to just go there and have a fucking great time. Be yourself.
right,
That's it.
exactly.
There's no pressure, man. You've done the hard work these last 7 months. Go there and have a great time. Put no pressure on yourself, and then the outcome is inevitable, man.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
and that's exactly the way I look at it. I mean, if there was a positive, like what you said is like, because you know, I'm sure she will have a couple. There will be a couple scenarios because she's getting pushed.
Yeah, you better believe there will be.
She's gonna try to like leave at like 2 o'clock from a park, and the kids don't want to go, and I don't want to go, and I spent all this money. I'm gonna have to just let it go. You know what? Go back to the room and just meet us at the dinner time at 7 o'clock, and she'll probably show up an hour late. And yeah, I just gotta like already like know that that's gonna happen and let it go. But you know, I can deal with it now. You know what I mean? It's like fine, we're gonna have fun. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
The kids are looking at me at this point, so
Yeah. Dude, I'm so happy for you. Like to go from where you're at, where she was pushing for divorce and you were on this emotional roller coaster and you were having to look after the kids and then you had your business, all that stuff going on. You had your challenges in the business. Like life doesn't stop, but you're going to keep having the challenges in the other areas. Brother, I'm so proud of you that you put in the work, you've showed up. Now, you know, you got her staying in your house again, that she was also saying she didn't want to work on the marriage. She wanted to dissolve it. Now she's in counseling with you to work on the marriage. She's back in your house and you're going on vacation with her. Andre, congratulations, man. I know we'll do another follow-up video when you've crossed the finish line, but today it's all about celebrating how far you've come, man, from what most people would consider a seemingly impossible situation to getting your wife to check back in. So congratulations. I'm so happy for you, for Isaac, Elizabeth, and Jennifer. So all of you, the whole family. It fills me with joy. So
no,
congratulations,
thank you.
brother.
No, and you're right. I gotta celebrate it because you know I've always been the type like in the military. You look at the negative, so you can turn the negative around. You don't look at the positive all the time. But when you put it out and lay it out like that, I mean, it's a huge positive because to any outsider, you know, a year ago, even 6 months ago, and maybe even a couple months ago, it's like, yeah,
Dead in the
people
water.
get close to this, like, oh yeah, it's done,
Mm,
get over it, give up, and
yeah.
it's like I knew in my heart, no, I'm never giving up. It's not happening.
And how does it feel now that you didn't give up and you backed yourself and to get to this point where you're at now? How does that feel? What kind of emotions are you feeling?
No, it warms your heart because, like, I mean, like I said, I'm a spiritual guy. I'm a Christian. I go to church, and you know, I do believe I know what God's will is for my life, kind of deal. And you know, even with all the negativity that people may be saying, for me, I was just holding my frame. Right, I knew the truth. I knew it was right, and so you know, it's empowering to know that not only can I change, you know, for myself and know that I can put in the work and actually like not only just to work for this program, but the fact that I was able to hold everything up and do what I did. It's just like I don't I haven't met many people that could like push through sometimes as much as me. And not to say that I'm better than anybody, 'cause I'm not, but it's like, I hold myself, at high standards, and I push myself pretty hard. And so it's something that, nobody can ever take away from me, because it's a personal thing. And um, yeah, no, I feel warmed up in the heart, because at the end of the day, for me, it's not only because I love my wife, but it's really because I believe in the family unit. I don't believe in torn homes. I don't want to pass this generational kind of curse onto my
Yeah.
children. I want them to grow up in a loving home. I want them to, you know, see what's the family unit as it should be. I think,
Mm.
divorce rate's 50%. I mean, you'll have a job, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know what I
man.
mean? It's like, it's sad. It breaks my
Crazy.
heart. It's like, my whole life, like, divorce was never an option, period. And so it's something like yeah, it's against every fiber of my being. So I'm glad I wrote it out, and I'm going to obviously continue to. And it's like nothing's ever going to change.
Wonderful, man. And this reminds me what you said there about your kids and how you want to keep the family unit together. We haven't hit on that. How has your relationship changed with Isaac and Elizabeth since going into the program and showing up as a super dad?
Yeah, so I think my daughter, she's turning 8 here in a couple weeks when we're at Disney World. My son turned 5 last week. Before my wife left, before the pandemic, my daughter was still young. She even made it to preschool at 3.5, 4 years old. So after the first year, my wife and I swapped off, and I was a little bit more with my daughter raising her. It's easy with
Yeah.
one in some aspects, right? And so I think me and my daughter already had a good relationship in some centers, but when the pandemic hit, at that point my health was pretty declining. I was in chronic pain and anger, so
Mm.
that, but I still tried to be there for my daughter, but I really wasn't. There's things that, like, I didn't do, and I wish I could take that back, but I was, sick of the time.
Sure, brother.
When the pandemic hit, though, I really had to save my business in Hawaii, retail store, souvenir
Yeah.
shop in Hawaii. And, I basically, it was a massive sacrifice. And I told myself that I had to put it in a box, is like, I'm going to have to sacrifice serious time with my family to make sure that we survive and have a
Mm.
future. And not only did I do that, we actually opened a second store that's thriving, but yeah, it came out of massive sacrifice to my son, especially. Um, and so I compartmentalized it, knowing that, like, about this time, once everything was running and things were good again, that I would invest in my kids, and they're at the age now where they're fun, where they want to go to the beach or play sports, and you can do things with
Sure.
them, like the toddler years. And so I think my wife had to carry the brunt of every bath, every shower, and now I'm doing it, right. Like, it's a little
Yeah.
bit of payback, but no, what it's done is it swung the pendulum, because I'm like completely attached with my kids. Like, I want them here every day. I give them a bath every day. Like, I'm like OCD about taking care of my kids. And
I love to hear it.
I think my kids feel that, know that, to where they want to be with me. And I feel bad because it kind of takes away from my wife, but now she's feeling that's part of, I think, her drawback, is like, she's realizing, like, how my kids are so close with me now. And, and maybe she like, went that far away with it. But no, I love it, man. I take them to the water parks. I do everything. I've been to every single field trip with my kids while they're in school. I've gone to their friends' birthday parties, and now they're coming to ours. I'm planning their birthday party. I'm like literally trying to be super dad. And it sounds like you're taking on a lot, and it is, but I honestly love it, man. It's like, this is like, these are memories you'll never get back. So I think what has happened, and this is why I almost feel like this whole past year is almost, of course, you don't want to go through the pain or anything like that, and the fears and the struggles, but I can see the backside of this, that it needed to happen, and there's a major benefit and learning lesson from it, because it's going to make me a better father, more engaged father, a better husband, right? Because I had to put in the work, because I didn't have it before, and it just recalibrated my goals and my values as well, and so now I can clock out of work. Before, I couldn't clock out of work. Now, I mean, yeah, I might have to work late some nights, don't get me wrong, but I can clock out and say, no, my kids are more important, or screw it, I don't need to get
Wonderful.
done today, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that before.
Brother, that's absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy for you. So you're now seeing you've taken leadership, not just in your job, what you were doing anyway. You're taking leadership at home, so leadership with your kids, leadership with your wife. So you're showing up in all areas of your life as that leader, and you're now connecting with the kids on a deeper level. You're prioritizing, and you're seeing the gift of this challenge. That challenge of what happened in your marriage has been really so a gift now in hindsight of the things that you needed to change. So that's huge, man. That's absolutely huge. And congratulations. So my final question for you today, then, Andre, is now they're going through the program and getting these incredible results that you're getting. What type of person do you think would benefit most from the ARC system? What type of man?
Well, I'm the ice guy. So if there's something where you're not putting your family first, or you're, having struggles in your marriage where there's disconnect, where you're almost roommates, if you're at that phase, if you have anger issues in your marriage, I mean, then you'd probably be at the roommate phase. Obviously, if you're in the process of getting divorced and you want to save your marriage, or be on the journey where at least you're going to heal yourself and have a support system no matter what happens. I mean, really, I think, and this is kind of the makeup of the group now. You have guys that, their wives never moved out. Maybe they're just sleeping on a couch or whatever. And some of us are a lot further, apart, like where I was at, like divorce papers in hand and wife's out of the house, right? So, I mean, at any part of that spectrum, obviously, the sooner you nip it in the bud and get the help, the better. I wouldn't let it get to where I got. If you notice signs of struggles in your marriage, whether it's that getting to that roommate phase, or it's best to figure it out then go down as far as I did, because we were in the roommate phase for a couple of years, and I should have, I compartmentalized it to where I was like, when the kids go to school, and which was right when my wife left, we're gonna have more time to go on dates. But there's
Yeah,
probably more deeper issues than just time of going on dates. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, and
sure.
you get invested in yourself and looking at what's going on with you, or challenges
Yeah.
in your marriage they would have never seen it. It's better to catch it much sooner than later.
I totally agree. Unfortunately, though, as human beings, we seem to use pain as a motivator.
Right. No, and that's funny because my wife said that too. Oh, now you realize, like, when I left, and it's like, and I think almost all women probably say that. I was like, why
Yeah,
didn't you change before? I wasn't good enough then, all this kind of stuff. And
I know, but we learn from it, man. And like now, also what I'm hearing from you, from your story that you're telling us today, is you've always had some area in your life that's been kind of falling apart, like all of us, right? That needs more attention. But I guarantee you now, you're going to have the business is important, but you're always going to have it. The main areas in your life are going to be your family, so your kids, your wife, the relationship. That's the foundation, because we can build from there. It's so much easier to go out into the world doing the kind of work we want to do and show up as the men we want to show up as when things are good at home, right? Rather than the other way around, then it's very difficult. Okay.
exactly.
Then finally, Andre, what would you say to a guy that's like looking at the arc system at the moment, is sitting on the fence? Should I go for it or not? What message would you give to that man?
Absolutely. I mean, you can sit here and make a lot of excuses of why not to do it. Like me, maybe it's finances, or but divorce could be a lot more expensive, or the repercussions of not being able to work after something like that because of depression, and all kinds of residual things. You got to work on yourself and stabilize yourself, and no matter what. But yeah, I mean, I have zero regrets. I would do it 100 million times over again. It's definitely, out of all the investments from counselors, therapy, lawyers, this was
Yeah,
definitely the best investment in this season. That's been costly no matter what.
yeah.
Obviously, it'd be a lot more costly if my wife left me, for sure.
Mm,
Uh, not just financially, obviously. I mean, every aspect, for my kids,
yeah,
everything, right? But um, everybody has reservations for whatever reason because they haven't stepped through the door. But I mean, if the door is open, you got to step through it. And to me, from what I've gained and what I've seen other people gain from this program, you have nothing to lose. I mean, there's only been positive.
Wonderful. Okay. Andre, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to discuss your experience of going through the ARC system. And I just want to wish yourself and Jennifer all the best. All right.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Lots of love, brother. Take care.
That's all. Yep.
Bye.